nobody is calling this thing out as a scam, as far as I can tell on TV. I mean, and, you know, they're dancing around and implying it, but the fact of the matter is that corporate TV operates on a business model of, number one, never actually talk about the details of issues, only talk about personalities. And there's a reason for that, by the way. This goes back to the 1980s. Those of you old enough to remember Lee Atwater and the Reagan administration, you know what happened, what I'm talking about here. Because before the Reagan administration, the media used to talk about facts. Back in 72, when Richard Nixon announced that he was offering in fact, we used to have the video of this. I don't know if you can easily find that, Danielle, or not. But Richard Nixon announced the equivalent of an Obamacare plan. In fact, it was virtually identical to Obamacare. And Ted Kennedy fought him because it wasn't single payer. It wasn't perfect. Ted Kennedy made the good the enemy of the perfect, or the perfect the enemy of the good, rather. And, yeah, I think he went to his grave regretting that, but, you know, because this could have been a very good first step. But Richard Nixon in 1972 proposed Obamacare, and John Chancellor, as I recall, on CBS News, went through this whole, you know, like a 2-minute description of here's Nixon's plan, here's Kennedy's plan, all the details. That's how we used to deal with policy on news in the United States. And then Lee Atwater started this work the refs thing. Whenever they would do something like that, where they'd say, here's one side of the argument, here's the other side, the Republicans and the conservatives, all their think tanks, the whole echo chamber, you know, Drudge, Limbaugh went on the air in '87. He became part of this. They would start yelling and screaming, the media is biased. The media is lying about our program. The media is characterizing us in a bad light. The media needs to stop talking about the facts. And within 5-6 years, the media had just been totally neutered. I mean, totally neutered. And they no longer talked about facts because they were afraid of having Brent Bozell go after them. They were afraid of having Lee Atwater go after them. They were afraid of having the president criticize them. And so now, I mean, occasionally you get these fact-based people on TV, you know, mostly politicians, who just want to talk about the facts. Speaking of facts, by the way, Mark Pocan's going to be with us in the next hour, for the entire hour, taking your calls. And we're going to clear all our lines at the end of 35 minutes from now, just FYI. But, you know, we used to have media in this country that talked about these things. Now, if you want media in this country that's going to actually talk about the issues, it's really tough. You have to find Amy Goodman. You have to find our show. You have to, I mean, there's a couple of places, you know, the Young Turks are talking about. There's a few places that talk about the facts, but you're not going to find that on corporate television, because facts is not what they do. Bernie Sanders just issued a press release. Today, over about 1,000 carrier workers and their families should be rejoicing. But the rest of our nation's workers, Bernie writes, should be very nervous. Just a few short months ago, Trump was pledging to force United Technologies to, quote, pay a damn tax, end quote. Still reading from Bernie. He was insisting on very steep tariffs for companies like Carrier that left the United States and wanted to sell their foreign-made products back in the United States. Well, instead of the damn tax, the company will be rewarded with a damn tax cut. Wow, how's that for standing up for corporate greed? How's that for punishing corporations that shut down in the United States and move abroad? In essence, United Technologies took Trump hostage and won. And that should send a shockwave of fear throughout all the workers in our country. What Trump is doing today is deadly to workers in America. These are my words. Now back to Bernie, because he explains why. Trump has endangered the jobs of workers who were previously safe in the United States. Why? Because he has signaled to every corporation in America that they can threaten to offshore jobs in exchange for business-friendly tax benefits and incentives. Even corporations that weren't thinking of offshoring jobs will most probably be reevaluating their stance this morning. And who would pay for the high cost of tax cuts to go to the richest businessmen in America? The working class of America. Let's be clear, Bernie writes. United Technologies is not going broke. Last year, it made a profit of $7.6 billion and received more than $6 billion in defense contracts. It also received more than $50 million from the Import-Export Bank and very generous tax breaks. In 2014, the last year we have numbers for, United Technologies gave its former chief executive, Louis Chenever, a golden parachute worth $172 million. Now, this wasn't his pay. This is what he got for leaving his job. This was a goodbye bonus. Last year, the company's 5 highest paid executives made more than $50 million. The firm also spent $12 billion to inflate its stock price instead of using that money to invest in new plants and workers. Does that sound like a company that deserves more corporate welfare from our government? Trump's Band-Aid solution is only making the problem of wealth inequality even worse. After running a campaign pledging to be tough on corporate America, Trump has hypocritically decided to do the exact opposite. Keep that in mind as you watch this bread and circus that's being played out all day today.